Lights. Zoom. Scenario. The desert ahead is rough and treacherous. You've got supplies for 3 days, but it'll take you a week to make it across on foot. What more, the desert plays hideout to the infamous fireballer bandits, and you're pretty sure you felt the tremor of purple worms tunneling underfoot. You've got a need for steed. Hey everyone, Matt Colville here, and that is a basic scenario for Dungeons & Dragons, where the adventurers will want mounts, beasts or monsters that they can ride. Mounts allow us to play out the heroic fantasy of the hero atop their noble steed, and they often carry the same gravitas as the named magic weapon in the hero's eyes. People enjoy a cool horse. The rules for riding a creature in 5th edition can get you pretty far, but there are 2 rules that could use some oomph to help the players lean into the fantasy better. 1. The mount can't do more than move while mounted. It is the equivalent of wearing a pair of speedy horse boots. 2. The mount is frail or becomes frail as the rider grows in level. Before you know it, your best friend has become your biggest liability. And then we end up not using any mounts. Or the adventurers get mounts for like a session or 2, and then they end up leaving them at the base for the rest of the game. So let's change that. Let's make some cool new mounts that can take action and improve as the party levels up. Let's make mounts something that players get excited about. And to do it, we'll use the mounted combat system that I came up with for MCDM's Arcadia magazine. Yes, I am not Matt, but Willy, a game designer who spent a whole lot of time making D&D character movement and dynamics more interesting. Folks have been asking me how to make their own mounts for this system, and that's what I'm going to walk you through right now. Step by step, no Arcadia necessary. So what do we want to make? What's our starting point? We could make a creature from scratch, but let's start with something easier. An existing monster, like the Axebeak. They aren't too complicated, but they're used in mounts in 5e adventures, and I can already imagine some cool things that a heroic Axebeak could possibly do. Stat block. Look at that. 50 feet of movement, a pretty neat attack that it can't use while you're riding it, and just enough hit points that make the level 3 wizard jealous. And we're going to tackle that last part by introducing the mounted trait to the stat block now, Wichow. And this trait is the basic key. It's our means of beefing up our mounts without fiddling with any of the base stats. Our Axebeak's abilities are now tied to its rider, allowing it to grow alongside the party. Activating the mounted trait is like attuning to a magic item. The Axebeak just needs some quality time with the desired rider over the course of a long rest. Bright and early in the morning, boom! Several things happen. It swaps out the Axebeak's +2 proficiency bonus for its rider's proficiency. The beak's getting more badass as its rider does. It also adds that bonus to the Axebeak's AC. It's going to be a tough bird with much better chances of surviving past the first round of combat. And it grants the Axebeak temporary hit points at the start of each day. Now, there's a little bit of math involved in determining how many points it gets, but we've got everything in an easy chart over here, kerpow. The Axebeak's 19 hit points puts it at the 4x category, so we're going to add that to the top of the stat block. Basically, the math works out so that the mounted creature has about 100 hit points or so when their rider reaches level 20. They should be able to survive a rogue fireball once or twice, right? So they're no longer a liability at the higher levels, but you still want to take care of them. In fact, let's just slip in proficiency and dexterity saving throws in there for my own peace of mind. Providing the mount with an additional saving throw or skill proficiency when it doesn't already have any is a very easy way to show the mount is growing with its rider without touching any of its base stats. It's like a little cheat. There are some other cool new rules that come with this system, but I want to start digging into the Axebeak itself. What makes an Axebeak and not a warhorse or a giant toad? Why would an adventurer want to ride one? What kind of sweet synergies does it offer its rider? Axebeaks don't really fly with those tiny wings, and its plumage isn't particularly notable. But what about those talons? Long, powerful ostrich legs that are tough, scaly, and can move really, really fast. A horse needs 4, where an Axebeak can only do with 2. And I think there's something there. You want to make sure your adjustments make sense for the mount that you're creating and are beneficial in the situations where a rider would be mounted on them. Adventurers will seek out the Axebeak when they want to stay high and away from the ground below. Craggy terrain, swamplands, thick snow or sand, you name it. So we're gonna give our Axebeak the Talon Trot trait. It is unaffected by difficult terrain, and when it takes the dash action, opportunity attacks made against it or its rider have disadvantage. Powerful yet simple. The rider is already a full-on character with their own features and facets. Running 2 characters at the same time could prove overwhelming, even if they were twins. We've got to make the mount as easy to run as possible. So what about that beak? What good is an axe-like beak if it can't use it? The mounted combat system has 2 new bonus actions that the rider can take on their turn. One is a reckless vaulting maneuver that's super cool and you should absolutely read about it. But the other lets the mount use one of its unique actions instead of either dashing or dodging. Well, let me put it like this. On your turn, while riding your mount, you can move up to your target and use your bonus action to have your mount make an attack. The beak can now wreak havoc. And remember, it gets the rider's proficiency bonus too, kapoof. But we can do better than that, right? Axes don't really do much more in the game than the Axebeak's beak, but this bird is slamming its entire face down on the target before the rider follows up with their own attack. What if it cleaved through an opponent's defenses, right? Or it tore through objects like wood? All right, work with me here. Picture Big Bird booking it across a glass-covered battlefield with this massive axe in his hands and you on his back. Oscar the Grouch is in his sights, and Oscar, knowing fear for the first time in his life, retreats into his trash can. Big Bird leaps into the air and slams down his mighty axe, snapping the lid of the trash can in 2, leaving Oscar teary-eyed and wide open for you to follow up with your very own powerful, loving hug because this metaphor has gone way too far. So, we're changing the beak action to the cleaving head slam. On a hit, it reduces the target's AC by the rider's proficiency bonus until the start of its next turn. It'll also do maximum damage to objects, structures, and plants. So at this point, the Axebeak mount is looking great and has a lot of support from its new abilities, making it a dependable option throughout the campaign. But we can keep going. I've got time. It's cool. So, a fast creature with minimal points of contact with the ground makes for a great water walking candidate, for instance. It fits well within our talent trot, but we can keep it separate so that it's clean and easy to read. So I give you Water Waltz. The Axebeak can run across liquid surfaces as though they were solid ground. If it ends its turn on top of the liquid, it sinks. Could even give it a cool new once or 3 times a day ability. It's a fast-moving axe blade like a blender, so let's let it cut up everything in the area. Creatures in a 10-foot radius need to succeed on a DC 10 plus proficiency bonus dexterity saving throw, or they take 1d6 slashing, and have attacks made against them made at advantage until the start of the Axebeak's next turn. The ground in the area now becomes difficult terrain. So this works alongside the head slam without negating it, hits multiple targets, helps out the party, and creates a really cool moment. You don't really need a lot of new toys to get the fantasy you want across. 1 to 2 traits, 1 to 2 actions go a long way, especially when you're working with something that's pre-existing and that most people can recognize like the Axebeak. Just look at where we started and where we're at now. Wink. So this is definitely an Axebeak, but it's also a mount that can survive, a creature with a unique locomotion option, a companion with thematic actions that synergize with its rider, and in my opinion, just the sickest shit. You can finagle the mounted combat system to work with most creatures, even hire CR monsters for higher level parties, but you can let them argue over how to bard a purple worm mount. Eventually, the party could even be riding dragons in Dungeons & Dragons, if you can imagine it. You don't need to imagine it, actually. I've got an article that'll help you do exactly that coming out today in this issue of Arcadia. I don't have an article about how you can ride a dungeon yet, but give me time and we'll figure it out. Now, if you're looking for something a little less Link and Epona and a little bit more Drispathapath than Guinevere, I'd point you in the direction of MCDM's Monstrous Companions and the Beastheart class by James Introcaso. Like, it's fresh. I can't get enough of the ferocity system, and plus, I bet you can get away with... Okay, imagine being a rat man riding a big rat with a giant rat companion using both of our rule sets. Right? I'm looking around, there's no one else here. I think if your DM's cool enough, they let you do it. But in the meantime, I want to see your mounted creatures. What if we were to run a contest on MCDM's dime? I'm giving you 1 week, Saiyans! You must create for me a giant capybara mount! Bara Bara? I can't pronounce it. I just read it off of the cue card. Post your stat block in the MCDM Discord and we'll all vote on our favorites. As for me, I've been the Willy Boo at the Willy Boo and will continue to be the Willy Boo too. As for you, thanks for being cool and keep tabs on MCDM if you like what they do. Peace out. Hey, you wanna know what Matt hides underneath the table? Ready for this? You would have never guessed.